Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next live stream. Just realizing I forgot to turn the light on. I'm running slightly late. Kind of got caught up. Watching some watching some videos on YouTube with the whole Lego drama. Whole thing's crazy, but this is our fourth of our 9 live streams that we're doing. Excuse me. As a thank you to you guys for helping me hit 2,500 subscribers. As I've said a million times before, I couldn't have done this without you guys, and I really couldn't have. You guys are the ones hitting the subscribe button. You guys are the ones watching the videos. You're the ones who are sharing the videos. You're the ones who are here in chat, supporting and all that. So I couldn't have done this without you guys, and this is just my way of kind of giving back to the community, to kind of say thank you, give you a chance to just hang out, talk about D&D or whatever other nerdy stuff you guys want to talk about. So that's basically what we're doing. Hopefully my mic's working. I don't have a great way to check it, but I assume it is. It was working fine the other day. If not, let me know. But hopefully it is. It should be. Anyways, I've been working on getting some more videos out for you guys. Actually getting kind of close to getting another main video dropping. I've mentioned it a few times, but I've been working on the Spy Master video, so that should be dropping in the next little bit, next couple days probably. We'll see. It kind of depends, but don't have too much more to do on that. I'm going to be getting another short out for you guys today probably. Working in the background on a few other videos here and there, trying to get some stuff done. So just working on trying to get some more content for you guys. Trying to be a little bit better about that, and let's see. I have one video that I've been working on for years that I have yet to get finished. I've kind of worked on a few other videos in the meantime while working on it, just because it's such a long just such a long video that it was taking so long. I'm like, I gotta put some other stuff out. I can't just keep working on this one. I'm still working on it, just not as much, which is funny because the title's going to be a little bit inaccurate because of that. Originally it was going to be called "I Taught My Girlfriend How to Play D&D 3.5," but I'm not dating her anymore, so that's a whole thing. Because the video was shot 2 years ago. So I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna navigate that one. But I'm still gonna put it out. I'm gonna have to kind of clarify some stuff in it. But that's a whole thing. Anywho, we're just hanging out as per usual, talking D&D. Anything anybody wants to talk about, feel free to drop something in chat. Otherwise I'm just gonna keep rambling about whatever I think people might want to hear. But this is more for you guys, so it's more of me talking about what you guys here in chat are asking and saying and all that. It's your guys' chance to hang out and ask questions and all that fun stuff. So I just figure some of you, if you're showing up, might be interested in knowing what the plans for the channel are and whatnot. Started watching Gate. I like it so far. Nice. Yeah, it's a great anime. I'm glad you're liking it. It's a really good one. Like I say, it does a really good job of, showing what would happen if our modern world interacted with a high fantasy world, and in a very direct way, a literal freaking gate that you can just walk through or drive through. So it's a pretty cool anime. I'm always looking for more anime to watch personally. Love fantasy anime. Those are like my favorite. High fantasy is just the best. A lot of isekai. Haven't seen too many recently, which is good because I was getting burned out on them. Um, yeah, those high fantasy isekai, they're way too many of them, and I get why. There's a lot of like it's really easy to do. Yeah, a guy from our world dies and then shows up in a fantasy world where he can level up and stuff. It's like, okay, cool. It's a cool idea. It's just been done to death. Like, there's other ways to high fantasy besides, the whole isekai trope. Um, like there's plenty of other ways to do it, like how Gate does it, or the whole is it wrong to try and pick up girls in a dungeon, like that whole system where there's just a level system in the world, and it's got like the whole gods running families, humans on Earth, like that's another way that works, and it's unique and interesting, instead of just yeah, nerdy dude got it. Yeah, that nerdy dude, he just got sent to another world. It's like, come on, that's been done to death. Yeah, some of them are better than others. Like, that time I got reincarnated as the slime. It's one of the better ones. It's got that whole, like, he came back as a slime. Like, come on, that's like, one of the weak mobs in video games. You don't see it much in D&D, but like, if you've played a lot of like JRPGs, the slime is usually one of like the early, that's typically the early game monster that you're fighting a lot of that are just like super weak. And yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see how like, they made a slime like super overpowered and stuff, and like how he was able to pull that off. That's kind of interesting when they kind of put a little twist like that. Or I've heard it's actually the original isekai anime of I can't say the Japanese name or remember it, but Jobless Reincarnation is the English name. Great anime, very it is the standard isekai guy dies and ends up in another world, but like it is really good, and apparently it's like predates like all the other anime of that trope, so that kind of helps with it a lot too. Really good anime too. Apparently season 3, or not season 3, I think season 4 or whatever, just dropped recently or something, at least in Japanese. I'm waiting for it to hit in English, at least on Hulu. It's only showing like 3 episodes in Japanese so far and nothing in English. So I just noticed that recently. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's a really good one. Yeah. In terms of Dungeons and Dragons itself, I'm trying to get into some games and whatnot. Thinking of trying to run one myself. Always looking to join other games and all that good stuff. So yeah, just kind of is what it is. Yeah, just switching to do not disturb on Discord so that I don't get any notifications while I'm streaming, because that could happen. And, just having the beepy sound, not the greatest. I started RPGs with Dragon Warrior. I think that's the one I played way back when in like 89. Dang, that is so old. And the slime from that game is iconic in Japan. Yeah, it really is. So that's like kind of why like the slime anime works, is the slime is iconic as the trash bad guy, like the trash mob that you fight at level 1, and they're super weak. Like the slime is iconic as a super weak mob. Yeah, 89, man, I was not doing much back in 89. I was around. I wasn't doing much. I couldn't have done this in 89. And by this, I mean just sitting and talking. Yeah, I was 1 then, so yeah, wouldn't have been able to do a live stream on my own. Wouldn't have worked very well. Not sure how good I was at talking yet. So yeah, that was You're definitely a bit older than me there. Because yeah, I don't remember '89 at all. Yeah. So you were 15. Yeah. Yeah, I was 1. So you're a bit older than me. But it is what it is. I know a lot of the people that are in my chat and stuff are older. In fact, almost everybody in my chats that I'm pretty sure is a bit older than me, which is interesting. Yeah, I know my stats, like most of the people who watch are a little younger. I definitely have people older than me, but I think most of them are like slightly younger, like in the 18. I think I have more people in like the 18 to 25 range or something, or maybe it's the 25 to, I don't know. It's been a while since I've looked, and I'm sure it's changed because a lot of my fans have gotten older since I first started doing this. That's just kind of how time works. And I've been at this for a little while now. Like, I think I've been at it for like 13 years or some crap. It's been a long time. Kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. Yeah, and I know people who have been at this way shorter times who've gotten way bigger, but it is what it is. It's been a learning process for me, and it's definitely taken me some time to figure out. But things are what they are. But yeah, yeah, I'm thinking of trying to do. I don't know. I want to get into some games. I really do. Like, yeah, preferably a game that's decently high powered, but not too crazy high powered. Have you watched any sword and sorcery movies from the '80s? I have not. The name Sword and Sorcery sounds familiar, but I have not watched any of those. Yeah, the '80s are a little dated for me, not gonna lie. Little before my time. I didn't even start getting into, like, I wasn't even into D&D until I was in high school when I was like 18, 17. So it wasn't until like '06 that I started getting into D&D. So yeah, anything from the '80s like that, it would have been so old, and trying to pick up on something that old, I don't know, it would have been hard for me. I would have had a really hard time enjoying it. That's been a problem I've had with certain older anime too. Like, I haven't been able to get into Ranma One Half just because the animation is just so bad compared to like what I've seen. Like, it's just old, and I didn't start on it till too late to actually be able to appreciate it. If they did a remake of Ranma One Half, that would be great. But like, I don't know. I don't think I could get into the original. It's just not well done. Like, not that the manga is bad or anything, but like, the anime's art isn't the greatest, although it could be. It's not that bad. It's more the voice acting. Voice acting from that time just wasn't good. Conan is the biggest one. Interesting. You talking about anime? Because I know Detective Conan. I've watched Case Closed, the English dubs. I mostly watch English dubs when it comes to anime. I'm just too lazy to read, and it distracts from like the action. Like, it's hard for me to read the little subtitles while also watching the action at the same time. I'm not the fastest reader, so like while I'm reading, which I'm barely able to keep up with the text as it's coming in half the time. So I'm missing like everything that's going on screen because I'm focused on trying to read everything before the text disappears and they move on. So, which is why I prefer dubs. It's just harder for me to get into the subs, especially when it's really dialogue heavy. No '80s movies. Oh, you mean like Conan the Barbarian, the '80s movie? I've heard of that. I assume that's what you mean, because I have. I've heard of it, obviously, but yeah. Otherwise, I have no idea what you're talking about. Because yeah, but I have heard of Conan the Barbarian. It's just been so long. I've seen some of the older stuff, like I've got like Rocky and Rambo and things like that. In terms of like stuff from that time period. A lot of Stallone stuff, but I've seen some like old Jackie Chan movies, but I don't know. I haven't seen too much from the '80s, to be honest. I've seen some stuff from like the late '80s, but I don't know. Most of the stuff I've seen is like newer than that. And heck, half the stuff I've seen from the '90s is kids stuff. Like, when I think '90s movies, I'm thinking, all your Disney classics. Aladdin, Mulan, The Lion King. That's what I think of when I think of '90s movies. Is I'm thinking of like just all the movies Disney came out with in the '90s because they really dominated in the '90s, which for someone my age is huge because like they basically were putting out a huge new movie every year during my childhood. My favorite was Aladdin. I think largely because I'm a guy and it's like the one movie where it doesn't focus on the Disney princess; it focuses on the prince. So I could relate a lot more to the main character than I could with all the other Disney movies. Well, I guess The Lion King too, but he's the lion, which makes it a little different. Although I did like The Lion King a lot. But yeah, most other Disney movies they focus mostly on the girl, and I'm a guy, so it's just less relatable. Nothing against it. Just as a dude, I relate more to male main characters, and I'm sure girls are the opposite, which is why we should have a mix of both. Um, and yeah, and like people talk about wokeness and what's like, it's like, okay, cool, I get that, and like we should have a mix of both. And then people are like, oh, but like the female superhero stuff doesn't sell as well. It's like, yeah, probably because most people, like the core audience for that, are mostly guys, and they're not going to relate as much. But at the same time, by making those, it can help grow the base by like getting more women to watch and join into the superhero genre because maybe they can enjoy it. It's just not going to happen overnight. So long-term strategy is probably a good idea to make more female superhero movies. But in the short term, it's not good. People complain it's like, oh, woke, go, it's like, eh. Anyways, prefer not to get too political on stuff, but I see things more nuanced than most people. I'm not super far in either direction personally. I like to have nuanced takes, like how I've talked about AI on here and other live streams. I've got a nuanced take on AI. I don't think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I don't think it's near as bad as what some people say. There's a nuanced take to it. That's how I feel. Like, do I think that it's going to destroy the world because the AI are going to rise up against us? No. Do I think that it's like super, super destructive to the planet? I mean, there's some serious arguments on that, but it's more on corporate levels than the individual level, and also on the government level. But yeah, with the methods to do it aren't to, attack people. Like, if you want to actually make a difference, go on, like, don't just be a keyboard warrior about it. Like, freaking step up and go call your congressman. Like, seriously, like all these keyboard warriors trying to, make like a big difference and stuff. It's like, you're not doing crap. Call your congressman. That'll do something. Don't just whine on the internet. Don't just whine on Twitter or X or, whatever. I don't, like, I'm not an Elon stan. I don't really hate him either. I have nuanced opinions. Oh my Lord. And I don't know. I hate how like overly political so many people get. Anyways, D&D, I don't like I like D&D 3.5. Like, it's a fun system, and you can get cool things in D&D 3.5. Like, I don't know, you save the politics for the politics between the elves and the dwarves fighting against each other in their epic battle, because the elves don't like how the dwarves are misusing resources and burning all the trees or whatever in order to fuel their forges, because there's definitely some stuff that overlaps there. Like, let's be real, a lot of the elves are going to be very strongly correlated to a lot of like left wing modern politicians with like, especially like the Green Party and stuff like that. That's just how elves are. They're very pro nature. That's the nature of the elf. And then you have dwarves who are like big on mining, and that's like their whole thing. So like they are going to butt heads in somewhat similar ways to what you see in real life, but it's also different. And then like you have like this long story arc that the elves have, where it's like they live for so long, and the dwarves similar amounts of time, but the elves are very free, and they have this like um, kind of hippie-ish vibe. I don't want to say that exactly. There's definitely some big differences there, but like, you know what I mean? They got the same kind of values in a lot of ways of just like being one with nature, being one with the earth, and that's kind of their whole thing. And then you got the dwarves who are very stubborn and rigid, and they're very, very by the books. They have certain ways that they do things, and that's how they are. Like in high fantasy, stubborn as a dwarf is very much a thing because dwarves are notoriously stubborn. They don't change their mind easily. They are set in their ways. Dwarves do things a very specific way. That's how they do things. They like to mine. They like to smith and craft and make really amazing things, but they're not too in tune with like the natural world around them. They just like to mine and dig and make really good stuff, and they're very obsessed with that. And then you got humans who are kind of an interesting one because they're very short-lived, which makes them a lot more short-sighted. And they also have much shorter reigns in terms of like like their political reigns are much shorter. Even like in these settings we're talking about kings that rule for a lifetime, so they're appointed in like 30s maybe, and then they'll die like 30 years later, so they're serving for 30 some odd years. And maybe they're ending, like it varies because maybe their dad lives a long time, so then they have shorter reigns. But at the same time, while they're not in charge, it's their dad in charge, and they know that someday they're probably going to be king. So like they're being groomed for the role their whole life, and their kids are going to get that, and like it's inherited. So there's some degree of stability, far more so than most governments today. But at the same time, compared to that of the elves and the dwarves, the reign of a human king is nothing. Like humans seem very fickle by comparison, because you have this elven king who's been sitting on the throne for 500 years. So some freaking human who's been on the throne for 30 years, it's just like nothing. It's like, bro, I made a treaty with you guys a while back, and she's like, yeah, that was my predecessor way back ago. Like it's kind of, it makes it harder for the elves and the dwarves to deal with the humans because they're always dealing with somebody new, from their perspective. You see a little bit of it in like Freerin, because Freerin kind of is dealing with that. Like she's like, I just got this thing. It's like, yeah, that was like 50 years ago. No, that thing's, we haven't used that in forever. But from her perspective, she just got it. That was only 50 years ago. Because to her, that's a blink of an eye. So that's kind of how they see that. Like, if you want to compare it to modern politics, you're talking, I'm an American, but like the USA is a good example of, a country that has very quickly overturning, leaders. Like we switch out leaders every 4 to 8 years. That's really short compared to a lot of other places. So some places, a lot of Europe's actually starting to change on that, but it still makes it harder for a lot of places because, especially certain governments that tend to be, have people in power for a long time. There are definitely some governments out there that have done that, some pretty major ones. So yeah, just I don't know, just sort of similarities. There's definitely differences, but It's always good to like try and understand real world comparisons when playing the game, because I don't know, when you're playing, you're how do I explain this? So like when you're trying to play as like trying to like show the dynamics between like the elves and the humans and the dwarves and like all the political tensions that exist between them, it's best to have some frame of reference and using some real world stuff to like compare it to. I'm not going to get deep into any of that crap, but yeah, it is what it is. Uh, yeah, if you guys got anything, because I'm rambling, I know I am. I just it's not chat hasn't been too active yet, so that's is what it is. I'm running a story where the god that Asmodeus stole his power from got true resurrected and ended the blood war. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. God that Asmodeus stole his power from got true resurrected. That's pretty awesome. Because yeah, it'd have to be a pretty high level power in order to pull that one off. Because if he's a god, regular true resurrection might not cut it. You might need like to have thrown some other spells on there to make it work. Also, we're talking a long time ago, which means, well, if it was a long time ago, I think True Resurrection, you have to have caster level, like they can only be done, 10 years per caster level. So whoever True Resurrected him must have been pretty high level, or used some sort of mechanics to bypass that somehow, which wouldn't have been easy. Ramble on. Let's have it. Nice. Appreciate that, Kobanizer. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, but yeah, freaking, that's a long, long time. It must have been someone pretty strong to have been able to, to have resurrected the god that Asmodeus stole his power from. Like, yeah. And yeah, Asmodeus is very, like, man, he's powerful. I think the Blood War too. Jeez, that's crazy. I don't know how he pulled that one off. Did he like just destroy both factions, or did he just like step in and was like, all right, y'all ain't fighting anymore. I'm just gonna step in the middle here, and I'm just a bigger roadblock than either side, and I'm just gonna make it not worth it to you to continue fighting. I'm curious what method they used, because that's not an easy thing to do. I mean, and on top of that, like, yeah, there's ways that could make it happen, but it'd be really problematic to do like the easy way, like to just step in and be like, hey, stop fighting each other. I'm going to step in the middle and prevent the fighting, because doing that's going to cause huge problems, because that'll just cause both the demons and the devils to build up their forces and then start sending them at the mortal realm or at the heavenly hosts. And that could be far more damaging. The fact that the devils and the demons are constantly at war with each other kind of keeps them in check to a large degree and prevents them from getting too much power, and keeps the peace in the world by forcing the war between the two evil factions. So that's interesting. I'm really curious about that one. Ever cast True Resurrection on Dragon Scale armor? I have not. It took me a second to realize what that is, what that does. You wouldn't even need True Resurrection because you don't need a body. But yeah, that just regular resurrection would work for that. But I get what you're saying. You cast that on the armor and turn it into a dragon. That's certainly something. Never tried it. Probably would work though. Yeah. Yeah, it should work. It wouldn't. I mean, you would need at least regular resurrection, since you do need like a piece of the body for regular resurrection. But like that one, like anything works. Like, you know, piece of hair, drop of blood, whatever. It doesn't take anything particular. But if you were to use like raised dead, no, dragon scale armor would absolutely not work, because you need a mostly intact body. Um, and even if there was a spell in between where you needed like, um, I don't know, some core part of the body, that still wouldn't work because dragon scales are, you know, that's basically like saying like, yeah, we found some skin, we found like some, you know, like if you scratch your arm and like you get some skin cells there, like that's basically the equivalent of, you know, dragon scales as well, other than you would need more. But like, you know what I mean? Like if you like accumulated a big old nasty blob of freaking skin cells, that's basically what dragon scale armor is. It's literally just like shed skin. So yeah, a shock to the guy wearing it. I'm sure. Oh yeah, it most likely would be. I do wonder how that would work. Um, like, could you just cast that on someone's armor without a problem? My guess is that if someone were to try and cast that in order to like get rid of the armor, I would imagine it would probably require a will save from the owner, like from the guy wearing it, to prevent that from happening. I imagine they would get a will save to to like prevent that. Um, yeah. Now, if it's true resurrection, uh, there's probably ways you could get around it by just being like, okay, I know that those scales belong to some dragon. I'm not going to use the scales themselves as part of the true resurrection. I'm just going to like, you know, set my target as the dragon that they came from, and true res them without using them directly. Um, if you did it that way, I don't think they'd get a will save. Like almost certainly they wouldn't. Um, and then just the dragon would show up, but they, you know, obviously get to keep their armor. But yeah, that would be something. Uh, some use skills and such in armor. Uh, they're just asking for a resurrection prank. I mean, I guess, but at the same time, like the main uh, the main reason to use dragon scale armor is for druids. So if you're a druid and you want to be in heavier armor, um, then that's kind of the way to do it. The main the main person I would see using this would be something like a Folklore Larist. So, you know, the druid, bard, rogue hybrid class where you have to have like one level of rogue and a few levels of druid and some levels of bard, and it's really good prestige class, except for it has way too many requirements. Like way more, like it has more requirements than like any other prestige class in the game. It's like the hardest prestige class to get into. Maybe not the hardest, but it is up there for sure. But it is really good. Full base attack bonus, full arcane casting, full divine casting. Really freaking good. Plus, it has other stuff beyond that. But it is full Gish, full the Urge, which is massive. So, yeah, something like that. Oh, actually, even then you wouldn't need it because they don't, that particular prestige class ignores the druid's restriction of heavy armor. So yeah, even they wouldn't want it. Yeah, so it'd be a very specific kind of druid that would want to wear dragon scale armor. Like, there's no reason to wear it if you're not a druid, because the metal armor is just cheaper, easier to get, and really isn't any worse. Like, you don't really get any real benefit from dragon scale armor other than it does not violate the druid's restriction of not being able to wear armor. Like, it doesn't violate that. So druids can wear dragon scale armor without issue. And that's the main reason why you would wear it, is because you are a druid. There's really not any other real reason to be wearing dragon scale if you're not a druid. You're just much better off, not just using metal armor. Just way better. Uh, yeah. So that's the main reason. And even then with druids, like they don't get proficiency with like heavy armor. I'm not even sure they get proficiency with medium armor. I think it's just light. So they would have to take a feat or dip into another class like fighter or something in order to really be able to use that effectively. So yeah, it's like dragon scale armor. There's reasons why you would use it, but the number of builds where it would be particularly useful is pretty small, in all honesty. Yeah, because like Folklore and Lyrist is one of the better examples of why I could see wanting it, but they don't need it because they get an ability that bypasses that. I mean, granted, while you're like training to become the Lyrist, the dragon scale armor might be a good play, but at the same time, you're probably better off just going with regular armor that isn't dragon scale, because you can get non-metal light armor fairly easily. That's not a hard thing to do. Same with medium armor. And on top of that, like with how deep 5e or not 5e, 3.5 is, you can just use ironwood. Like that's just better. Like so much easier to do. I mean, it has its downsides. Like, okay, ironwood, I think it still can be burned in certain ways. But at the same time, like, okay, for the most part, you might as well just use ironwood. The downsides are pretty minor. Yeah, I don't know. The dragon scale, it's cool, but there's not a lot of reason to use it. There really isn't. I mean, I thought it was cool in the past, and I wanted to have it on characters, but like once you start like really diving into the game and like knowing what all the options are that are out there, and you're not just like looking, and you don't just have like your the stuff that's in the DMG, and you have more sources and everything. It starts to show that there's better stuff out there than just dragon scale. Like ironwood, great stuff, way better than dragon scale for the most part. Just a thing, yeah. But yeah, that would be funny to see freaking dragon turn someone's armor into a dragon. That's just insane. Yeah, especially if it's like a full plate or something. But yeah, I don't know. There might be some small advantages you get from it over other armors, but like, I mean, I don't know. Like a chain shirt has some advantages. Like chain shirt is the best light armor in the game. Base light armor +4, plus it gets a pretty plus you get 4 max dex, and armor check penalty is pretty small. So chain shirt's pretty good, but yeah. So getting like a chain shirt that's made out of dragon scale, okay, I could kind of see some reasons why you might want to do that. There's some logic there. But yeah, ironwood's better, and trying to get dragon scale chain shirt, bit tricky. Whereas because you're gonna have to obtain the scales somehow, which generally means you're gonna have to defeat a dragon, which not the easiest. Dragons aren't exactly common. This may be Dungeons and Dragons, but finding it's not like dragons are just everywhere. Like they're kind of hard to find. They're somewhat infrequent in the world. And two, even if you do find one, bringing them down isn't going to be easy. And, sometimes maybe in a lot of dragons you just don't want to kill because half of them are good. And if you're a good character, then you don't want to bring down a good dragon like that. That would be an extremely evil act. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you could ask them to give you scales voluntarily, but they generally won't make it easy for you. Even like a good dragon probably isn't just going to give you some of his scales unless like he has got a really good reason for it. Like, I will gift these to you because you are the hero who will bring down this this other dragon, or who's going to do this. This is my way of helping you. It's like, okay, I can see that, but a lot of dragons, are going to be like, you'll probably have to prove yourself to get them to do that. And then other dragons, like the chaotic ones, they'll probably like, make you pass some like riddles or something, or like have this whole scheme that you have to go through to get their scales. Even good dragons get hungry sometimes. Self-defense trumps alignment. I mean, yes, if the good dragons are trying to eat you, but generally the good dragons aren't going to be trying to eat the party. Like they generally try and stick to animals and like, goblins and orcs and like the evil creatures of the world, try and, thin those guys out. But yes, if the dragon is coming at you, sure. But the good dragons, they're not likely to do that. They're like, they're going to avoid killing, the townspeople, if they can, just like, you generally avoid, I'm not gonna, like, people don't go out and rob the store if they can avoid it usually. You know what I mean? Like, most people that are out there stealing from the stores are people who can't afford food that well and they kind of need it in order to get by. Not all, but a lot of the people that do that, they're doing it out of necessity. That's kind of why the good dragons would, like, that's kind of the only reason why they would do that, is if they got real desperate. And that doesn't happen that often. Usually they can find other sources of food, and even if they can't, they'll often like try and work with the townspeople and be like, hey, I'm hungry, I'm having an issue with this. If you got any like prisoners or something you might want to sacrifice to me, because I'm really hungry and I'd really rather not attack you. I imagine the good dragons would at least try and go that route if they started to get desperate. But I can't imagine that happens that often, even then. And I imagine a lot of towns would be like, yeah, we could probably sacrifice some prisoners to the dragon. Why not? I mean, we get that times are tough and it's hard to find food right now, or it's like a drought or a famine or whatever going on. It's like, all right, yeah, I kind of get that. And, it's not like they want to engage in cannibalism, so. Because there's actual reasons to not engage in cannibalism other than moral. It's really bad for disease. Human is like the least clean source of food you can get. It just is. That's just how pathogens work. But plus the obvious moral issues with that. So I don't know, but yeah, the dragon scale, it's interesting. In terms of materials, what I like, I really like Orium a lot. That's a pretty cool one. It basically just self-repairs. So it's a special material that once it's forged, in order to, like, if it breaks, like, I don't know. So like, say I got this Post-it note here, just an empty Post-it note. Say like, it's ripped. If I wanted to, if this was made of Orium, which obviously it's not, it's freaking paper. But if this was made of Orium, all I'd have to do is put it back together as such, and boom, magically it just reforges instantly. Well, it did, and so clearly this isn't Orium. But I don't know. I like that material because I don't know. I just think that's cool. I had a character who had like a I think I made his sword out of Orium. He had like all his weapons were made out of special materials. And one thing I kind of wanted to do at some point, just because I thought it'd be kind of badass, because he also had an adamantine hammer. Was if someone like the guards tried to like take his weapons before he went somewhere, if he were to like put his sword down on a rock, grab his hammer, just smash it into pieces, and then be like, "Can I at least bring my broken sword in? What could I possibly do with this?" And like also have it like with the scabbard. It's like, you can have the other weapons. Just let me bring my broken sword. They'd probably be confused, but then like while he's like at the meeting, he'd just be like kind of sliding in the pieces into the scabbard. And then until like all of them were in there, and they just kind of assembled themselves as they slid down, because he just put them in the right way and everything. And then just like if a fight, and then maybe after he's done that, a fight breaks out, he just pulls it out, the sword's just repaired, and everyone's just like, what the heck, just kind of I don't know, I think that'd be kind of a badass little move. I never got a chance to do it, and honestly I see a lot of reasons why it might not work. Like, I don't know, I can see why the guards might be a little suspicious of, okay, why did you just smash your sword and then ask me to bring, and then insist on bringing in the pieces, because what can you do with it? Something seems off about that. Like, do you have a way is there a way you're planning on repairing it in order to make this work? Because why else would you have literally just smashed it in front of us? Or maybe to be smart, to get around that thing, maybe smash it before, anticipating that they might, try and confiscate the weapons from him. Probably a little better of an option, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it'd be fun to like have them watch him just throw it, just kind of slide the pieces into the scabbard, and then just kind of pull out a fully functioning sword. Yeah, I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. Just one idea. And like, what's cool about it is like, unlike other stuff, because like it's like, oh well, you can just cast repair. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't work if it's magical, because if it's magical, when it breaks, the magic enchantment gets lost, and then you have to put that back on. In addition to it, with Orium, you don't lose the magical enchantment when it breaks, so you can just repair it and get your sword back to as good as it was with all its magical stuff, just by piecing it back together. Sword, armor, whatever it is. So I don't know. That's a cool one I like. Another one that I've liked was, I think it's called Thinium. That one's a really fun one. Basically, Thinium is it's a special material that is soul absorbing. It can absorb one soul per like Thinium item and hold that one soul inside of it indefinitely, but it can only hold one at a time. And if another one comes, the earlier one will get released automatically. But you can use it in some interesting ways. Like, for instance, if you're fighting and you happen to use that weapon to deal the final blow to an enemy, suddenly you've got their soul on there, and now they can't be revived, even with true resurrection, because you've got their soul stuck inside this dagger, and until they get the soul back from your dagger, they can't revive the person, and that person is sealed there forever. In addition, what you could do is you could use it on yourself. Like, you see you're about ready to go down, you see the chips are on, you see the writing on the wall, you're like, frick, I ain't gonna make it out of this. Maybe my allies might be able to. And you just like, and they know that your sword has native Thinium. You just, end yourself with the freaking Thinium weapon, and then pass it off to your ally, who can then resurrect you more easily because they have your soul right there. And that will just, it's easier for them to revive you because they have such direct access to your soul. So yeah, that's also an interesting option with that. So like for him, I think he had a short sword that was made out of that, and that or at least that was the plan, was to have like a short sword made out of that he kept inside a shield sheath. So it's kind of like a backup weapon that he would just pull out sometimes, maybe to get the final kill to like prevent, to make it so that the boss can't revive so easy, or to, end himself if need be, if the chips were down in the right kind of way. So yeah, just kind of interesting little character. He had all sorts of, like, every single one of his weapons. Like, he had a whole host of them. They were all like different special materials. That was kind of his deal. It's like a half fighter, half druid. Really cool character. Couldn't really wear armor. Probably was going to get Dragon's Kill at some point, that he would make himself. Actually, kind of modeled him after Stallone's Rocky. Not Rocky, Rambo. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, he was a little bit modeled after Rambo, a little bit. So yeah, that was just kind of his thing, was that he only uses things he makes himself. But cool character. I enjoyed him a lot. Like I say, there's a lot of really cool special materials. Obviously adamantine, mithril's a really cool one. Those are the ones that get a lot of the attention. I think I also had some. I think I was going to make something cold. Yeah, I think I was going to have his axe be cold iron. So if we ever encountered phase, it's like, oh yeah, well, he's got an option for that. And I think he was going to try and carry some, like, a vial of Quicksilver around. So instead of like having a silver weapon, he just, have a vial of Quicksilver so that he could just make any of his weapons temporarily turn them into Quicksilver or into silver just by like throwing that on top of them. So he'd have options to deal with just about any sort of threat that could potentially come up. That was kind of his deal. Didn't get to play him as much as I would like. It's not an optimal build by any means. Like, over half of this guy's skill points were in craft, like various different crafts. Like, dude had max ranks craft armor smithing, max ranks in weaponsmithing, and max ranks in bow making. Like, come on, like, that's a lot of 3 different craft skills that are all maxed out. Like, this guy was far from optimal, but one of my favorite characters. I really enjoyed him a lot. I went crazy and wrote like a freaking 1,000-page backstory on the dude, handwritten. Like, yeah, freaking crazy. I got really, I got really deep with this guy. So yeah. Let's see. But yeah, I've had some fun characters. Like, I mean, one of my favorites. This takes me back. I had a character way back when that is just this orc. I think he's full orc, and maybe he's half orc. I don't remember. It's like forever ago. But his name was Shut Up You, and like that was like his name was kind of a joke in itself, because he was kind of this gruff, orc guy, and people are like, "So what's your name?" He'd be like, "Shut Up You," and they'd be like, "Okay," and they just kind of leave it at that, and he wouldn't explain afterwards. So he had told them like, I only played him on like one session, but it did come up. Someone did ask his name, and he did say, "Shut up, you," and they're like, "All right, okay, I hear you. Not gonna ask." But in reality, he answered the question. He told them his name. They just didn't realize it, because that was the joke. And his the person who named him did that on purpose to kind of mess with him. So yeah, he had a bit of a backstory. I didn't know much, but yeah, that was just a fun character. Let's see. He was this weird orc who was like very pro elf, even though so there was like an elf in the group, but that elf had like orc as his favorite enemy, and he just hated orcs. But like my orc Shut Up You was like trying to be his best friend. it was an interesting dynamic. Um, an elf who hates orcs and an orc who really loves elves and is trying to be this elf's best friend. It was a fun little session. Um, I've had all sorts of fun characters I've played. So my favorite ones generally are either casters or like the really gruff types. Like, I once played a dwarven defender who had, I don't know how I rolled this, and it wasn't even technically me. I had like my friend's freaking 5-year-old roll the dice. I just had him roll and I counted them up and everything. But he freaking rolled me like, this is like, in my opinion, like the best dice roll I've ever seen. It was perfect to me. 18, 18, 18, 12, and then 5 and 3. And I was just like, dang, that's insane. Like 3 18s, a 12, a 5, and a 3. I'm like, dang, those are some stats. So I'm like, all right, the 5 will be charisma, the 3 will be intelligence, meaning he's got a 3 in both of those. I'll put the 18s in strength, dexterity, and constitution. So this guy's an absolute freaking unit. Then he actually ends up with 20 constitution because dwarf. And then I put the 12 in wisdom because their wisdom is actually kind of important. You don't want to dump that one too much usually. But yeah, he was a character. He was a rude, crude dude, and he had a big old weapon, and he was a tank that was hard to bring down. He hit decently hard. He was just an absolute stubborn piece of work. It's just this dirty bastard. Fun character. I've also played a character that was, I played a lot of caster characters that I've really enjoyed as well, where it's like, okay, their whole point is, to be just this like complete badass of a caster. I had 2 characters, Dimble and Gimble Ningle. Man, those are some fun characters. Twin brothers, gnomes. One of them was a Mystic the Urge. The other was a Cerebromancer. So one was Wizard and Cleric. The other was Wizard and Scion. And between the 2 of them, they were something. They were always causing all sorts of shenanigans, and it was quite funny, to be honest. But they had terrible physical stats, so they were like struggling to like pick up a like at one point they got cocky with them, and it's like, yeah, let's have them fight in a physical confrontation, and it went really poorly. They were absolutely destroying this guy using their magic, so they decided, you know what, let's just cut his finger off with a knife. They had the hardest time doing that. It was really funny because I forgot how physically frail these guys were, which was hilarious. I really enjoyed being reminded of that because it's been so long since it had come up. And then I played other characters. Like I played this was actually the one Pathfinder game I played, but I played an orc. I'm pretty sure it's an orc. Yeah, full orc, I think. And I rolled. The DM said, okay, instead of the normal system of rolling, what you can do is you can just roll a d20, and then that'll be your number. If you want to do that, you can. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I ended up with 1-1, and I put that in intelligence, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so am I able to talk? He's like, yeah, we'll say you can talk. But I made it so he wasn't very good at it. Or maybe he was a dwarf. I don't remember. It might have been a dwarf. But he was real stupid. And he was just like, I think I had to make him a dwarf. I was going to make him an orc, but I couldn't because I rolled a 1. And, I wanted to put that as his dump stat, but in intelligence. But since orcs have a minus to that, I couldn't do that because that would make it go negative. So that was a problem. But anyways, so he was a dwarf, and he was kind of racist, and he really hated elves, but he was very dwarf supremacist. He was also really dumb. I channeled my inner Hulk when I played him, and he was just always let's see. So it's like, you use big words. No, like, it's like, shut up, use small words. Me no understand. Like, he would get mad. Like, sometimes the other party members, they'd be having like this, normal discussion using big words and stuff. And he just like, he would just come in, and I'm not going to slam the table because like you'll hear a big bang sound. You don't want to hear that. But he would just come in and go bang, slam on the table. Yeah, my mic's not good for that. But he would slam on the table, and he'd just be like, shut up, use small words. Love that character. He was so fun. And yeah, he was a fun character. He was a big old brute. And yeah, I like playing the big dumb brutes, but I also like playing casters a lot too. So I don't know. For me, I like when there's a strong dynamic. I prefer, like, my favorite characters to play are ones that are really good at some things and really terrible at others. Like, that's the kind of character that I really enjoy playing. Because I don't want to be terrible at everything. That sucks. That's no fun. But I don't know. It's fun being bad at some stuff while being amazing at other things that kind of like make up for it. And also to, like, if you have a good party and like a good party dynamic where, the players and everybody are working together, it's kind of good to have, these really unbalanced guys working together, because you have this one guy who's just like a complete unit. He might be an idiot, but you got the genius who's can't lift anything, who's like they're working together like hand in hand. And by working together, they're far more powerful than, two average guys would be, because, the big guy can handle all the heavy stuff. Yeah, he's going to struggle with the intellectual stuff, but he's got his buddy for that. And then, maybe you got another guy who's like the charmer of the group, and, maybe he's got his weaknesses, but like, everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses, but they got each other's back. Like that, those make some really good and strong parties. Those are like my favorite games and groups to play in, is where like everybody's got this really like min-maxed munchkin-y character where, they all have these extreme weaknesses, but they're also like really, really good at the things that they do, and they work together well, and like are able to cover each other's flaws, so that, the flaws of one guy does. So, the guy who can't lift very much, that's not going to come up too often, because, it's like, oh, this guy can't carry very much. It's like, oh yeah, that's fine. That the big guy can carry it for you. He can be your pack mule. Or, maybe the frail guy is also small, so he can barely carry anything at all. And the big guy is, large. Like, yeah, throw you on my back. Like, I'll just give you a piggyback ride. You can just ride on my shoulders, man. That works. I once had a weak mage who would always make strength checks after the fighter failed from just lucky rolls. Dang, that's funny. And also, like, that's super funny. And I've seen that happen as well. And yeah, it's fun to watch like the big strong guy fail and then have the weak guy succeed just because he got really lucky. That's always just like a huge, just hilarious moment at the table, because you see the guy who should have done this easy, but he got super unlucky, and so he failed. And then you see this like wimpy little guy who really has no business succeeding, but happens to roll really good and just to get it, and just everyone's just like, really did that just happen? This guy rolled a freaking 3, and so he couldn't open the door. But then, like, our big strong fighter rolls a 3 and can't open the door. And then, the tiny little mage who's not very strong, he rolls a freaking 19 and cracks it open, no problem. I think that's hilarious. Like the whole table, that's the kind of moment where the whole table busts out laughing. Uh, because it's absurd. Like, what? What are the odds of that? And the answer is not very high. Not the lowest. Like, we're talking 1 in 200 ish. But yeah, it's like you got like a 0.5% chance of that happening, but still not that likely. And it's just funny how watching absurd things happen every now and then. Selling wands of summon rust monster to children is always a good. Oh, good lord, you are evil, Kobanizer. You are evil. Matthew how do you say it? Matthew's Senescence. What do you think of Baldur's Gate 1 or 2? I don't know if I've played 2. I think I played 1. I played one of them long time ago on my friend's old computer back when we were kids. So, jeez, man, this was before I even got into D&D. So this would have been like late 90s, early 2000s. And I can't say I remember it that well. I really enjoyed it. I tried to go over and play it as much as I could, but I haven't had a chance to play it. I played 3. I love 3. But I can't say I've really played much of 1 and 2. I don't think I played 2 at all. And 1, I got to like this mine area, and then I kind of got stuck. And I just didn't play enough to be able to get out of it because I was playing at my friend's house, and it's a 1-player game, so it's kind of awkward. He'd have me come over, and then like I would just be in the computer room playing while he did other stuff. So like it wasn't really that fun for him. He was just being nice and letting me play games on his computer while he did other things. So I didn't get to play it that much. To be fair, he came over to my house pretty regularly and played my games on like my GameCube and stuff. Actually, my SNES actually more at that time. And I just watched him half the time. But, it is what it is. We were kids. What's up, J-Not? Pronounce my last name like Cena, like it's in John Cena. Gotcha. So you're Matthew Cena, like got it. So you're Matt Cena, John Cena's little brother, or something. Got it. I mean, I'm sure you're probably not the last name is literally pronounced differently, but I mean, you can claim it. That's, might be kind of cool. Similar with John Cena. Let's see, Knots got. Let's see. Well, first part, Ferdinand's name is pronounced like Cena. You still have to pronounce the last part. Gotcha. C Knots. Got it. Matthew C Knots. I think I got it. Hopefully. And I appreciate you helping me with that because I do like to pronounce people's names right. Like, I genuinely do. Like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of an important thing to be able to say someone's name right. Like, names are important. Like, yeah. They're important because it's arbitrary. And the reason they're important is just because we say so. But, like, we do say so. Like, that is our label for ourselves. Like, it's important. A little off, but still better than most people pronounce my name as. Fair enough. Sinance probably. I'm going to go with Sinance. Hopefully that's right. But yeah, like, names are important. So yeah, I do genuinely always try and I make a big deal of that, like, just personally. I hope it not Sinance. That means something in British. Interesting. Interesting. I have no idea. I'm not British, so can't really say, to be honest. I know there are some names that are like I've watched videos about like British stuff, like things that are completely normal in America that are sound weird to a British person. There's this one guy that does a lot of really good videos about it. I think his name's Lawrence, and he describes himself as um, like the funniest thing ever or something. I don't know, but he makes a lot of. He's lived in America a long time, but he's from the UK. But anyways, I know one thing that he's mentioned is like the name Randy. I know the name Randy, very normal in America. Lots of guys are named Randy. I actually knew a woman named Randy. But yeah, it means something in the UK. Yeah, I mean that it kind of has that meaning in the US as well. It's just not a very common meaning. Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm also American. If you couldn't tell, I imagine you probably could. I mean, uh, I've made a lot of videos, and you're hearing me talk. You hear them talk in all the videos. If you couldn't figure out as American by my accent, I don't know. I'd be surprised. I mean, I guess there's some other accents that are similar, like Canadians, pretty similar for the most part. Until you try and say the OU sound, you know, all their boot. You know, they don't say about. They say a boot instead of about, and like any word with that OU sound instead of out, they'd say oot. Not any. I don't think they say. I don't say. I don't think they say oot instead of out, like the word out. But you know, most other words that have that, yeah, it's kind of a thing. But aside from that, most Canadians sound very much the same as Americans. Um, you really can't tell the difference by listening to them, and unless you're talking like the Quebec guys and like Montreal and that, yeah, they're different because they got the French accent. You know that's a whole different part of Canada, and you know there's also other regions of the U.S. that are also sound different, like you know Boston or the South, or you know even New York's got a bit of an accent. You know I got you know I'm from the West. I got kind of the generic uh, American accent because there's various accents that all kind of sound similar. Um, yeah, in America. I think part of it has to do with media, but yeah, and like media has like really caused accents to become less of a thing because you know the fact that I'm able to make this video and all you other people that know English are able to watch it and hear it, that kind of pushes you to towards a little bit more of the same accent as me, even if that's not your normal accent. The Army cured my Philadelphia accent. See, yeah, it absolutely does that, and media will do it too. Like, you know, if you watch a lot of media with a certain accent, your accent will naturally start to change to match that accent. Or like even talking to a guy one time will change it ever so slightly. But yeah, every interaction you have with somebody with an accent pushes your accent towards their accent just a little bit. Um, and yeah, with yeah, you know, media and everybody talking online and watching movies and all that stuff, that's causing accents to blend a lot more. So you're not seeing a divergence of accents nearly as much as we have in the past. They're more kind of merging back together, like especially with like American and British English. Like they have not diverged too much in the last like 50 years. Some, but they've also kind of been merging back together a bit, especially in the last like 20, 30 years. Just sort of a thing. Are they the same? No. Are the It's going to take a long time before you really get it, and you know the level of like mergence that's happening from media has really only started to go past a point to really um, override things. So yeah, the Philadelphia accent is particularly strange. Water is wooter. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. And you also get, I think they got similar stuff in, what is it? Ontario. Isn't that somewhat close to like Philly? And like, I know they got like their own weird accent. Um, uh, yeah, it's a weird one. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't have that much experience with Philly. To be fair, the thing I know most about Philly is comes from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I get the feeling that there's a lot of things that are heavily exaggerated in that show. So I take what I learned about Philly from that show with a heavy grain of salt, because either that or just everyone in Philly's a psychopath, which I'm pretty sure isn't the case. Because yeah, everyone in that show is a psychopath, at least the main cast. There are some normal, decent people in the show, but yeah, most aren't. See you soon. Yeah, all good, Matthew. I would recommend staying away from American cities. Interesting. I don't know why. Oh, you mean like big cities? I mean, kind of, but there depends on where you go in them. But if you stay in the downtown areas and like, the the heavily commercialized areas, the tourist friendly parts of town, those tend to be fairly safe. But yeah, if you go into like um, certain parts of big cities or even some smaller cities, where most people live, in the poorer sections, yeah, there tends to be a little bit more violence and stuff, especially in places like Philly and Chicago and Atlanta. Um, those are some of the less safe cities. But yeah, it really just depends on where you're at. And like, certain parts of New York and LA are also not the greatest. Um, they mostly like criminals more than law-abiding folk. I mean, kind of, but like, I don't know. I think there's some real strong exaggerations on that. Um, Not saying that that isn't a thing, especially in like the poorer parts of a lot of those major cities, like the ones I mentioned. But I don't know. I think saying that it's all criminals is a bit of an exaggeration. And honestly, I mean, people are people. There's reasons why people do things what they do. Um, you know, if, if people are out there doing, violent things that they shouldn't be doing, there's probably a reason for it. Their life probably sucks, and that's kind of their best way to get by. So, I feel a lot of pity for, a lot of people that come from those kind of places. And like, we shouldn't be just vilifying these areas. We really should be investing in them more to kind of raise them up. That's really what should be done. Fortunately, it's not. Um, yeah, like, I'm not trying to say that, oh yeah, like, no matter how bad your situation is, you're still responsible for your actions and all that. But like, when you got less to lose, sometimes doing something crazy makes a lot of sense. And I haven't quite been to that point, but I can understand the logic. Trust me. Every time you heat off a horrible crime, the criminal always has multiple felonies on the rap sheet. I mean, not always, and there's a reason why you have multiple repeat offenders. Like, repeat offenders comes from the fact that, like, especially in America, the justice system is not designed to rehabilitate. It's designed to like it's designed to punish, and it's designed in a way that honestly creates reoffenders. Like, you get locked up once for something small, and then all of a sudden, especially if you're from a poorer area, and even more so if you're of color, now all of a sudden uh, it's hard for you to find a job because you have a prior, which makes it hard for you to, get money, which makes it hard for you to get a place to live, which makes it hard for you to get food, which, just makes living an honest, decent life so much more difficult. Like, you get locked up for something small, you do your time, you get out, and now all of a sudden it's like next to impossible to live an honest life. Um, it's the system's really not designed well. It's a problem, but I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, I don't fully agree with people who demonize the lower class like that. Like you know, it's designed to keep monsters away from normal folk. Uh, it doesn't work when you keep letting that. I hear you. I can't say I fully agree with you on that one, Gobenizer, because like I just calling people monsters. Some of them, most of them aren't. Most of them are just people making the best out of what they have, and they don't have a lot to work with. A lot of people are just young and dumb, and they come from a poor background. That's just how it is. Like even in D&D, like you see like a lot of like the poor guys on the street, like they're not people aren't always they're not necessarily born like yeah. I don't want to get into that too much, but I gotta say I disagree with you on that, Kobenizer. Yeah. Anywho, let's see what else. Yeah, like I said, being poor is no excuse. Most people don't. I hear you. It doesn't justify your actions, but trust me, when you're poor and you don't have as many options, and the consequences for crime are less when you have less money and less things. So there's reasons why people do what they do. Um, and I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying the way we're dealing with it is not going to solve anything. It just makes the problem worse. It's been shown time and time again that literally just makes the problem worse. So, like that, the real solution is to invest in the communities, like invest in school programs, like invest in after school activities, invest in parks in these areas. Give the kids in these areas something to do after school. Have put like a boys and girls club in the area. That helps a ton. Gives them some nice, safe, fun activities for these kids to do. Give them just some safe third place to just be a kid and have fun. And like when you don't have that, that's when you start seeing problems. So I don't want to get too much into this, but yeah, the solution isn't just to lock everyone up for a bajillion years. The solution is to hit people while they're young with boys and girls clubs, and parks and sports. Sports is huge for a lot of people. I'm autistic, so I'm not a sports guy myself, but most people who aren't autistic, sports is the greatest thing ever for them. It helps them build off steam, especially young men who are the most likely to commit violent crime, regardless of race or anything. Men 15 to 25, that's who's committing most crimes, period, anywhere. Like there is nothing you can say, there is overwhelming evidence that the vast majority of violent crime is committed by males 15 to 25 because they're full of testosterone and they don't have a lot of good legal outlets to take out this like pent up frustration. So yeah, it's having sports, something like physical and potentially somewhat violent like football where you can, crash heads in with another guy. Like, that helps take out like the aggression in a safe, legal way. The reason is a lack of that is just not the case. It's not lack of consequence. Midnight basketball is not a solution. I'm sorry, that's just wrong. The consequences are already plenty high. In fact, too high for the most part. You get locked up for one thing and your life is ruined. Once you get out, trying to establish yourself back on the outside is nearly impossible if you don't have a strong community, and most of these people don't. So, yeah, I'm sorry, that's just not facts at all. Um, but anywho, let's talk about D&D. Like I said, I really don't want to get into this. It's dragging me. I really would rather not. Let's see what. Like I said, I've been working on the Spy Master lately. It's a pretty fun class or prestige class. It's one that I don't know. I kind of like it. Their cover identities are pretty cool. Really hard to scry on. I generally, I don't know. I like them. I do like the Spy Master for their ability to not be. Basically, they're really good at taking on a false identity and just really adapting it and really just becoming this new person. It's pretty cool. Murder hobos are also caused by a lack of consequences. Okay, yeah, in D&D, there's some truth to that, yeah. In terms of murder hobos, yes, and murder hobos can be fun to play as. Like, I don't know, the Paladin of Slaughter. That is probably the most murder hobo class in the game. You literally take an oath that basically requires you to be a murder hobo. Like, you don't have to like kill everything all the time. Like, you can be smart about it. Like, it's not like you walk into a town and just like immediately start killing everybody. Like, no, that's stupid. You're probably gonna die. But like, yeah, you're chaotic evil, and you be smart about it. You wait until the coast is relatively clear. You kill a bunch of people, and then you kind of hide a little bit. Maybe you take out the guards when they're sleeping. You be smart about it. Or maybe it's a small town and they don't have too much guard presence, so you wipe them all out, and then stick around for a little while, just to rest, and then get out of town pretty quick. And if anybody shows up in that time, you take them out too. So don't leave any witnesses alive, kind of thing. 100%. In D&D, yeah, absolutely. And if it's if the game allows for it, like, that's fine. And if the DM's allowing you to like play these characters, then I would imagine the DM isn't going to be throwing too heavy of consequences at you for it. Like, they're not going to be saying, "Oh, you're all just going to be spending time in jail." That's not fun. Like, or, "Oh, you just they send the entire army at you and you get slaughtered and you all die." It's like, well, that's a shitty campaign. Like, there should be some consequences, but like, if you're allowing the players to make an evil party, don't go too hard on. Don't make the consequences too hard. Keep them something that the party can actually deal with. Like, just always, you want, as a DM, to make the consequences something they can deal with, or at least make it so that the play style that you can tell that they're probably going to be adapting, that there's a way that they can play it without just getting screwed over. Let's see. Would breeding cats be a crime against humanity in 3.5? I don't see why. I don't see why it'd be a crime against humanity. In fact, in real life, that's how cats were domesticated. From the evidence that I've seen, based off some YouTube videos I watched, but they were very science-based ones, like SciShow. But apparently the cat got domesticated not that long ago, like 3,000 years ago or something, like pretty recent, maybe 4,000, because some pharaoh just wanted a bunch of cat mummies to be buried with. So they started a cat breeding program, a breeding and mummification program, which, and a cat can one-shot a level 1 commoner. That is true. the way it works. Same with wizard. Depends a little bit. Like they're not super likely to pull that off, but it can be done. Um, Although, yeah, I mean that does kind of make sense. Like I don't know, cat happens to claw you in the throat. Yeah, probably bring you down. Cat could one shot a dude. It's not likely, but they can do it. Um, but I see why you're talking about that. But commoners could also kind of take out the cats pretty easily. Um, yeah, and it's not like the commoner or the wizard would be dead after one shot from a cat. They would just be dying, and without treatment would likely die. Um, but there's some nuance to it. But yeah, you are kind of right that a cat could definitely one shot a wizard or a commoner, and that's a thing. Um, yeah. Uh, Now, if you're talking about other classes, much less so the case because they have better hit dice. Um, Although the funny thing is, when you're talking about NPCs, typically they don't get max health at first level. That's really only for player characters. And the reason why player characters get max health at first level is because it's assumed that only those who happen to have just been born a bit stronger than everybody else actually make it to become adventurers. Those that were born a little bit weaker, they just don't have what it takes to be an adventurer, and they never made it. So that's generally the logic. Like that's the basic logic on why you get max health at first level. Um, it's because you're special, not that special, but you're special. You have slightly better stats than the average person, and better health than the average person. But so you're special, but not that special. 1d6 claw attack. How many HP do you have? You're right, but 1d6 could be a 1, you know? And yeah, the commoner has 1d4 health. I get you on that. Um, so yes, I am aware that they are probably going to pull that off. And yeah, most commoners are level 1 with 1d4 health. So yes, but at the same time, I don't know, the cats could, like, the commoners can fight back against the cats. Um, yeah, like they have weapons, and like the commoners themselves might not be able to beat all the cats at the same time. Like there's the guards and whatnot. Would you nerf cats or buff humans? I'm not sure I do either. I think it's kind of fine as is. If anything, I'd probably nerf cats, but I don't think it's really necessary. Like, we're talking super low level stuff. Doesn't matter for the most part. I don't think I don't know. I don't think it matters too much. It's, I just don't think I don't care that much. But I don't know. I think, yeah, probably nerfing the cats would make more sense to like a D4, or especially seeing as they are tiny. They shouldn't. A D6 is a lot for a tiny creature, and yeah, they should have like minus strength as well, or plus strength, which should be a negative score for a cat, and they're not very big. So yeah, I don't know. Cat having D4, honestly, a D3 hit attack seems like it'd make more sense. Plus, minusing strength seems like a smart move as well. Maybe I'd give them like a special class feature, give them like a special racial feature, like dogs get. Like dogs get trip whenever they attack. So I would, I'd probably say they get like a D3 minus strength, but they also get 1d6 sneak attack. They get 1d6 of sneak attack as a special racial feature. That's probably what I would do to like try and nerf it, make their attack a lot weaker, but like also give them sneak attack. So if they happen to be in a position where sneak attack would apply, then yeah, they can get that 1d6 of extra damage, which honestly makes sense. Cats are sneaky little frickers, and yeah, they a cat being able to occasionally get a sneak attack in and do some real damage makes sense. So I think that would be the nerf I would put on the cat, is drop their damage significantly, but also give them a d6 sneak attack as a special racial feature. I think that's fair. Leave humans as they are. Yeah, so they get a nerf, but also a buff, and I think it works out to more of a nerf. But yeah, seems more fair to me. That way, yeah. But yeah, cat breeding program. I hear what you're saying, but not a crime against humanity. Like, nothing wrong with breeding cats. Literally, that's how cats were domesticated in the real world. And it wasn't very long ago. Like, the modern cat that we have today really didn't exist outside of Egypt until the Romans. It was the Romans, when they invaded Egypt and conquered it with like Alexander the Great. Yeah, it was when Alexander the Great went into Egypt that cats first started to really spread outside of Egypt. They'd spread a little bit before that, but not much. But it was Alexander the Great that brought them back to Europe and spread them there. And then a little while after that, Marco Polo and guys like him started the Silk Road and started traveling, from Europe to all the way to China, and even a little bit into Japan, I think. Yeah, it wasn't like one guy usually going the whole way. It'd be like one guy would go a little bit, another guy would go a little bit. They're just guys going back and forth over a small area, and just a bunch of them along that particular road. And people would just trade with the same guys over and over. It was typically more of that than one guy making a long journey. But yeah, cats travel along the Silk Road into China. So that's how they got into. That's how the modern cat got to China, was from Egypt. Then it got to Europe via Alexander the Great and the Romans, and then from Europe it got to China via the Silk Road, and then they got to Americas, after in the 1500s, when stuff happened in the 1500s. America was very different before then. Yeah, for 1499, there wasn't a whole. Things were very different. There've been a couple of little meetings between, the Spanish and the natives, but not too much. They've been pretty limited by 1499. Things ramped up pretty quick in the 1500s, though. So, it was 1492 when they first met. And it's not like the Spanish just went in immediately guns ablaze. It took them a few years before they, those ships, they took a little while to, it was 1492 when I think he left. And then it was a few years before he got back. And then he sent a few more ships. So some time passed. Isn't catching cats warrior training exercise? It could be. I wasn't aware that catching cats was a warrior training exercise, but it very well could be. And that would be a cool exercise. Just going around catching cats. And warriors are pretty tough. They're literally just fighters without the feats. And I think they get I think their skill list is a little smaller. But that's pretty much the only difference. There's not a huge difference between warriors and fighters other than the feats. Warriors maybe only get a D8. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've looked it up. Maybe ninjas. Ninjas are cool. I like the ninja class. I don't know who. I see what you're doing there. It took me a second, Kobanizer. But I see what you did there. Freaking Naruto's first mission, your little Naruto reference there with Naruto's catching cats original mission, and then freaking later with Konohamaru going and doing this literally exact same mission with the same cat a few years later. I hear you. Took me a second, but I get you. Yeah. I mean, they can be kind of dangerous, but like I don't know, in the D&D world, I think that would be the way to do it. If I cared enough to nerf cats and try and balance it, yeah, I'd probably drop the cat's damage to a D3 and give him 1d6 sneak attack. But I really don't care that much. It does seem like a hard thing to do. Yeah, cats are sneaky little frickers, man. There's a reason why, like, cat cage, like, there's, like, I've never owned a cat, but I've heard how much of a pain they can be, like, especially, like, bringing them to the vet and stuff. Like, they usually have to, like, put the cats under in order to, like, do anything with them, because cats just will not sit still and just do not behave at vets or, like, groomers or anything. Like, nah, you gotta put them under. They will not cooperate at all, even for a lot of minor stuff. Unlike dogs, who, depends on the dog, but if the dog's decently well trained, and like the person doing stuff is, a decent person, and like it's actually like a caring person and isn't, just kind of sucky with animals. Most dogs will like sit and cooperate, and like you can groom them, and like you can you can go to the vet and like give them shots. Like a lot of dogs, you can give shots without them being restrained in really any way. Yeah, a lot of dogs can be extremely cooperative. Cats, no. Nah, cats. You gotta, if you want to do if you're gonna work on a cat, you gotta put them down, or not down, put them under, and then like they got to be anesthetized, and then like anesthetized, I think, and then like you can work on them. But it's weird the cats are so dangerous. I never saw one in a campaign. Fair enough. They're honestly, it largely just comes down to it's really only a good challenge at like level 1, and I don't think many people like the idea of killing cats. Like maybe if it's an evil campaign, I could see that as a decent like level 1 kind of quest kind of thing. Is just, hey, this place has kind of got overrun by stray cats. Your job is to just go slaughter all these cats that are hanging out in the alley. That's your job, is to slaughter the cats in the alley. I could see that as like sort of a neutral, or like a evil, or even like chaotic neutral kind of campaign, like the start to it. But yeah, you don't see it later, obviously, because cats aren't a threat at all at high levels. But at early levels, I don't know. I think people would rather throw rats or kobolds or orcs or goblins. Those are just much more standard ways to, more standard enemies to throw at first level. Because, I don't know, people feel less bad about killing rats and killing orcs and goblins and kobolds than they do with killing cats and dogs and stuff. Cats are psychotic serial killers. That's why cat girls terrify me. Well, nice. I'm not a huge cat fan myself, but like I wouldn't go quite that far. But cats are a little bit. They're different for sure. They are still largely wild animals. Like, they're not that domesticated. They're safe enough that you can generally have them live in the house with you without them being a real danger. It's fairly rare that living with cats is, a dangerous thing to do, but it does happen sometimes. You are 100% on that. Like people being murdered by their pet cat is far more common than being murdered by their pet dog, unless like you're abusing the dog, like because dogs are a lot bigger a lot of the time and they can do some real damage. Some big dogs, but if you're not abusing your dog, dogs aren't going to freaking hurt you. They're very, very chill. It's really only the abused dogs that are a problem. Um, and generally, only if you're the one that's abusing them. Um, Dogs are pretty good. Um, yeah, that's really messed up to people who do that to like pets. Sorry. Ah, my bad there. There are a shocking amount of dog bites every year. Yeah, that's true. And when you said shocking, that kind of reminded me of that cough that I had earlier. Something I don't know. But yeah, I mean, dogs do bite, but like a lot of them are small dogs. Small dogs are more likely to bite. People are often rougher with them. Plus, at the same time, like they're tiny. It's when you're small, you tend to be more aggressive to compensate in order to just like survive because everything's more dangerous to you when you're small, and therefore, in order to like fight back and survive, you kind of need to become more aggressive. Whereas bigger dogs don't need to do that as much. You see the same thing with people too, like to a lesser degree, but those 5'6" dudes, oof, dude, there's so many 5'6" dudes that are vicious little scrappers. Those are the like those tiny little dudes that are like 5'6" or less. Those are the kind of guys that usually got a knife on them that are going to mess you up. Whereas like the big buff Jack 6'5" guy, nah, he probably ain't going to do nothing. He could, but he's probably not. Like the really jacked dudes are usually really chill, and the little tiny guys are generally like way more wiry and stuff. And it's the same with dogs. It's because when you're big, things aren't that like you're not in danger usually. Like some guy punches you in the face, it's like whatever. If you're 6'5", like some guy comes at you and you're 6'5", it's like whatever. Some guy comes at you and you're 5'6", you better be prepared because that's going to do some damage. And, you're going to need to know how to fight and maybe fight a little dirty in order to not lose. Whereas the big guy, he can fight clean, or he can just even not fight and just scare people off with his size, which is usually what the big guys do. They don't fight. And they're generally not even like that aggressive or try to be intimidating. Their natural size is enough to keep them safe. I hate rat dogs. Why do they exist? Hey, I had one. I had that was like my first pet. Loved that little guy. Good dog. Yeah, he passed a while ago, but yeah, I love my little guy. He was a good dog. Yeah, he's a little 13-pounder. I also had a freaking 130-pound lab. That thing he was a big old son of a gun. He was a gentle giant too. Little guy was a vicious little guy, but he would bite. 100%. It's like, no, don't pet him, he'll bite. But we had people over, and like it's like, if you were new, I'd just be like, yeah, maybe wear some jeans and just don't bend down. He might come at you, or like we'll try and like grab him. We'd usually like before we let people in, we'd like pick him up and like he'd be and like trying to like get out and like get at him, but like it's not that hard to hold down. But yeah, it's like, yeah, don't worry about him. He can't really do anything. He can't bite through denim. He can't bite through shoes. He can't bite through leather or denim. He's too little for that. The big lab, he could. He could, like, he accidentally nicks you with his teeth, you're bleeding. But he was really gentle and like went out of his way to avoid that. They are for little old ladies. Watching little old ladies struggle to control a big dog makes me nervous. Yeah, that watching a little old lady struggle to control a big dog, I can see you on that, but I don't know. I think little dogs are just fine. I like little dogs. I prefer them over big dogs personally. Could I handle a big dog? Yeah, but I'd rather a little one. Just my preference. And I prefer a little dog over a medium dog too. Like, I don't know, what's a 60-pound-ish dog? That's like medium for a dog. A poodle will mess you up. They'll try to. And I mean, the poodles, for a small dog, they're pretty big. Like, they're one of the bigger breeds of small dogs. Because I think they're, like 20 pounds or something? Maybe 25, 30. Like, they're decently big. Like, they're not, like, they're still pretty small, but, they're no terriers. They're quite, but yeah. Yeah. It's not like what is it? Like a beagle or something. That's like a medium breed, I think. I think it's a little on the smaller end, but you know what I mean. I heard a burglar lost a lot of blood from a poodle. And I mean, yeah, that's probably possible. Like, it's not like they're big enough that they can get through clothing and like break skin fairly easily. I'm not saying like if you're, could I take a poodle one-on-one? Yeah, probably. Would I take some damage from it? Yeah, I might lose some blood. Could I probably patch myself up after? Yeah, probably. Grab some bandages, grab some like gauze and some peroxide and stuff. Yeah, I could probably handle it. But, it's not like it's a nothing burger. I'd probably have to spend some time like treating my injuries after. Not that I'm interested in fighting a freaking dog. Like, that's messed up. But the point is, like, poodles aren't that tough. Like, and even wolves aren't that tough. Like, they're tough. I couldn't beat a wolf one-on-one unarmed. And I bet you probably couldn't either. Well, maybe you could. I think you might have mentioned that maybe you've got, like, you're a vet or something. If that's the case, then you very well might. But, like, the average dude, no. You take some average guy off the street, he's not beating a wolf one-on-one unarmed. Not a chance. The wolf's going to take him down, most likely. But if you take a guy who's, decent shape, got some, like, some combat training of some kind or some wilderness experience, like a real rugged outdoorsman type, they can beat a wolf one-on-one unarmed. They generally won't because they're stupid. They're probably going to take damage, and you're much better off grabbing a weapon. But they could, and they just won't because they don't want to get, their hand kind of bit and, potentially get rabies. So, yeah. But yeah, wolves aren't that tough. Humans are pretty strong. Like, let's be real. Just modern humans are lazy. Myself included. Myself more so than most. So, yeah. That's just a thing. Anyways, like I don't know. I think, yeah, I'm trying to think about it. I don't know. It should be in such a way that, like, I don't know if that's the case in D&D, but it should be that a warrior should be able to defeat a wolf one-on-one. I don't know if that's the case, though. I think wolves actually are a bit stronger than that. I just know that realistically they're not. Although then again, I guess the warrior would probably be a few levels in before he would have to do that. So I guess that makes some sense. That's probably about right. Because a level 1 warrior, with no experience, okay, that makes some more sense. Yeah. Anywho, I don't know why we've got off some weird tangents, man. Wolves don't attack one-on-one. Yeah, not normally. You know what else doesn't normally attack one-on-one? Humans. Like, I get what you're saying about wolves being pack animals and not fighting one-on-one. 100%. Humans are even more so that way. And you're right. And the thing is, wolves do sometimes fight one-on-one. The lone wolf is a thing. It's not common, and lone wolves struggle a lot. There's real down like lone wolves. That's not a you don't. If you're a wolf, you do not want to be the lone wolf. It's because you got it, extrasized from your community, usually, or maybe everyone just died in your pack, which is your family usually. Like the alpha male, like the alpha wolf thing is kind of bullcrap. Like the alpha wolf is just the dad. That's literally what the alpha wolf is. There's a reason why the alpha wolf is the dominant. It's because he's the dad. And yeah, you look at a lot of households. Guess what? The dad is usually the alpha of the family. That's how it works. It's not the mom. It's not the boy. No, it's the dad. The son isn't the alpha. It's the dad. Because the boy's just a kid. So yeah, the alpha wolf thing is like so overblown. Lone wolves is a thing. Wolves typically aren't lone wolves. They avoid it. And again, so do humans. Humans are much more of a pack animal than wolves are. Far, far more so. Yeah, the proclivity of wolves to bunch up into packs is to a much lower degree than humans to group into packs. Now, our ability to group into packs is largely dictated by our ability to communicate with people, with how many people we're able to communicate with, which is why for a long time we didn't have particularly large settlements because we didn't have much in terms of technology. You didn't start seeing the birth of nations, like not really until writing was a thing and like the printing press and like books became widely available. And then like we didn't really start seeing like strong, massive nations until things like the radio came around and the television and now the internet. Like these huge technologies are what allow like these technologies like the internet, like how I'm able to talk to you guys wherever the heck it is you guys are from. I don't know where you're at, but that ability is what allows for humans to form such larger groups as we do. It really wouldn't be possible for humans to form at the group sizes that we do today without modern technology. We really couldn't. Wolves were extinct in North America, but they reintroduced them. Yeah, I heard about that. They were protected, but they started breeding coyotes, vermin. I did hear about that. Another thing about wolves may have been extinct, but dogs weren't. Interestingly enough, dogs came over with the Native Americans when they crossed, we assume, the Bering Strait land bridge back during the last ice age, although technically we're still in that ice age, although we're starting to move towards the end of it, unfortunately. But during the period when we're much more of an ice age than we are now, humans, the Native Americans, travel, or the ancestors of the Native Americans, most likely traveled from Asia to Europe, or not Europe to the Americas, and they brought dogs with them. And they were already domesticated, and we know this to be a fact because it's documented that when, the Europeans showed up in North America, the Americans had various dog breeds. Like the natives had dog breeds, different than what was in Europe too. So, yeah, they had dogs, and they did what we did and bred them in different ways. Yeah, the Mongols managed. Yeah, it makes sense. Mongolia, like the Mongolia, Siberia, that kind of part of like northern Asia, like northern central Asia, that area. Um, that is where it is believed that like it's believed that it's not fully known where the dogs were domesticated. It's possible they were done in multiple different places, um, but it's also possible it just started in like Siberia, Mongolia area, the gray wolf, and then just spread from human hunter-gatherer tribe to human hunter-gatherer tribe. And they just kind of very quickly, um, very quickly, like adapted and moved with humans, just because human tribe with domesticated wolves was far more efficient than a tribe without them. So that's another theory. We don't really know. We just know that dogs were the first domesticated animal by a long margin, and it probably wasn't even done originally so much as a domestication as it was more of a like symbiotic relationship. Um, not all symbiotics are completely like even. It was always humans were the dominant, but it was more symbiotic originally, the partnership between man and dog. Um, yeah. The Mongols managed a large empire with no telecommunication technology. They used delegate. That is true. It wasn't very stable, though. They did have a large empire. It was extremely unstable. It really did not last very long. It fell apart pretty quickly. They've had a few different massive empires, but none of them lasted, more than a few decades. And it's because they didn't have, they had horses, which helped a lot. And they were really good with horses, and they had good land to make horses so that they could use their horses really well, which really shrunk the size of their empire in terms of like the effective size, what they could control. But it was not that stable. It was fine while Genghis lived. Yes, it was. But like I said, a few decades. As soon as the man who pulled it off died, like things fell apart fairly quickly. And there was also the Huns, which is also the Mongolians, I believe. But that was a whole different time and place. Well, not place, but a whole different time. But I don't think that was particularly stable either. Large empires tend not to last long. You really, really need large technology to really get people to unite. If people aren't able to communicate, openly with everyone else in the group, that makes it really hard for people to feel that solidarity. And modern communication is really what's necessary for that. It just really can't be done anywhere near the scale we have today without it. Yeah. Anywho, probably focus more on D&D. I've noticed, I don't know, all these tangents we're getting on seems to be making it hard for people to jump into the stream. Which is why I've been trying to get off that and focus more on the game, but it is what it is. Let's see the uprising. Hey dudes, Crass on reaching 2,500. Appreciate it, man. Let's see. X the uprising. Or probably just the uprising. I'm assuming the VX and the XV at the end are just like brackets kind of things. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Appreciate it. Couldn't have done it without you guys. 100%. That's why I'm doing these streams, is to give you guys a chance to hang out and talk about the game or whatever. This is that's what the whole point of this is. Chance to hang out, maybe get some one-on-one or close to one-on-one time with to talk about any questions you might have or whatever, really. But yeah, I appreciate it. What do you have going on, and what do you think about the world? What do I have going on? Not a whole lot. I mean, I got this stream right now. I got a D&D game tomorrow. I'm hoping to try and like start getting to some more games. That'd be pretty cool. I'm been thinking about trying to run my own game for a little while now. I mean, I've run them in the past. It's just been a little while. Thinking of maybe trying to do like a pay-to-play game, like a paid DMing thing to try and make some money, because I could use more. Things have not been easy for me in that regard. In terms of the world, it hasn't been great. The 2020s have not been a great decade. Let me put it that way. It's been a pretty bad decade so far. I don't see things turning around in the 2020s. I'm hopeful that the 2030s will be a good decade, and that maybe things will happen now that will make things better by 2030. But yeah, this is kind of a crappy decade. Not gonna lie. But I definitely see a chance for things to change and get better. 100%. Curious about you. The real world has awful world building. Yeah. That's a problem. We're not building near as much as we need to. That's a huge issue. We really need to be doing more building. We got to get. We really got to loosen restrictions on that, in my opinion. I've been I'm a big proponent of build more houses and stop all this NIMBY stuff of all these boomers not wanting to have smaller houses built in their neighborhoods and having like apartment complexes built, because everybody just wants to build these McMansions, and like that's what's set. Like that's what like is incentivized with all the government restrictions and everything, especially in the U.S. But it's kind of everywhere. So yeah, we need to just build more. That'll fix a lot of the problems. There's a lot of the homeless issues, a lot of other issues. People just having shelter and being able having money and not having to spend everything on just having a roof over their head. Pretty rough out there. Trust me, I know. I'm going through it. Let's see. D&D is cool. What's the game like you're in for tomorrow? So the game I'm in tomorrow, that's basically, it's kind of a homebrewish kind of one. I'm playing a Mystic the Urge. He's kind of a smart-ass kind of guy. Very big on like information and yeah, it's a fun game. Hard to explain really. The DM's an interesting one. It's a fun game. I enjoy it quite a lot. Hard to explain exactly. Colonizer, yeah. Do you think there is a chance Americans might unite and fix things? Hopefully, I would love to see that. But we really need to get rid of the two-party system, and the only way I can see to do that is to get rid of first past the post and come up with some sort of ranked choice voting. Like, I really don't see things happening without doing some form of ranked choice voting that to allow a third party, and also get more people, and also maybe get some money out of politics. Both sides are doing it. It's a problem. It's more on the right than the left. The Republicans are absolutely more influenced by corporate greed and crony capitalism than the Democrats. But the Democrats 100% are a problem with that. Like Nancy Pelosi, let's be real, she's one of the biggest insider traders in all of America, possibly the whole world. That's just facts. So it's not like one party's innocent, no. But are there people that are? Yeah, I think I disagree with Bernie on a lot of stuff, but I think he's doing things the right way. He's not in anyone's pocket, not really. Like there's no like one guy who Bernie's in the pocket of. That's just facts. Bernie is in the pockets of millions of people for $5, $20, $100. It's like it's very grassroots, but just different. I think we need more of that. Less money from big corporations. Not saying Bernie's perfect. He's not. I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, but on most stuff actually. But I there's definitely some things that he's doing right. Anyways, two-party systems definitely. As for the D&D, what's your character? Mystic Theurge. What was it? I might role building doesn't refer to real estate. Oh, I'm aware, but real estate is literal building, and let's just say our current president hasn't built that much, even though he's known for building, which is surprising. As for D&D character, it's a Mystic Theurge. His name's Bill. He's a fun one. I enjoy playing him a lot. Two-party system is definitely the huge problem. It really is. We need to get rid of it. Rank choice a rank choice system is the only way to fix it, because with first past the post, which is what America has, two-party system is extremely illogical. It's stupid to not band into two parties when you have a first past the post system. If you don't join, if you're not part of a party that controls half of the country, you lose. That's just how it works. So you really need to, form these parties. That's the only way that it works. So we need to fix that. For more, get first past the post to be a good first step into forming or into making third parties viable. I mean, I was going to say forming third parties, but we have them. They're just not viable for the most part. They are viable in some small areas, like in the New York City gubernatorial race. Yes, it is. But when you're talking about not gubernatorial, but the New York City mayoral race, like Sundami, he's a third party candidate and he won. But outside of smaller elections like that, third party doesn't really work. And even then, it really depends. Rank choice would help a lot. 100%. Without it, there's no way to fix two party. Money out of politics for sure. Yeah, we need money out of politics. Maybe not completely, but we need to limit it a lot. The party should pick their own candidate. Taxpayers should not have to pay for it. Yeah, I agree. The party should be doing that, but I think voting for them is also a really smart idea. We just, it's not like it's not like the taxpayers are paying that much for primaries. The taxpayers aren't paying that much for elections in general. It's mostly the candidates and the parties paying for it. And I'm all for that. I just think we need to limit it. And honestly, I'm going to give inside info. As a YouTuber, in an election year, around November and stuff, ad rates go up a lot because all that money in politics, some of it trickles to me. I probably got a few bucks from campaigns because my channel I managed to get my channel monetized right before the 2020 election. So yeah, I was benefiting from that a little bit. Did I make that much from it? No, probably maybe $50 at most. But money in politics does benefit me a bit. But at the same time, I don't care. It hurts me more than it benefits me. Just because the system is so stacked against me that a few extra bucks every 4 years isn't going to compensate for that, even close. And two, I care more about the principle of the matter. And yeah, I'm the kind of guy who will shoot myself in the foot out of principle. Let's see. Parties should pick. Yeah, and it's a problem on both sides. 100%, both sides are guilty of taking corporate bribes. 100%, not everyone. Bernie Sanders is innocent. There's probably Republicans that are too. Not saying I agree with Bernie, but he is innocent of corporate corruption. He just is. He's not influenced by corporate corruption, unlike most politicians. But there's plenty of him that are. Nancy Pelosi being the most obvious example as the biggest inside trader. But yeah, there's Republicans are much more guilty. Like, you can look it up. Republicans take way more corporate money from corporations than Democrats do. They raise way more money from private donors than Democrats. That's just facts. You can look it up. But the Dems are guilty as well, and it's not just one side. And I'm a lifelong Republican. I'm not going to lie. I'm somewhat of a moderate. Kobanizer agreed. Do you think a movement could be possible to unite Americans around the basics as you just laid out, and to stand against the corruption and cut through the propaganda? Potentially. I know the main person trying to lead the charge is probably not the best person for the job, and that would be Elon Musk. He is trying to lead that charge. I don't think he's going to be very successful at it. There's way too much stuff that he's done that's not very great. I think he is at least somewhat honest in like his reasons for wanting to do it. I do think he has very much some self-interest in the matter, and he's got plenty of skeletons in his closet. But I think we need someone better than him. But it's going to be hard. We do need to find like some sort of method to like cut through the noise and the propaganda, and we need to like pass a constitutional amendment somehow to get rid of first past the post and mandate ranked choice ballots. Personally, I think we need to take some accountability on the Electoral College. I'm not for removing it, but I think we should all I think they should switch the system and make it not winner take all. Make it so that, if a state, if a state that has multiple votes, or that has, like multiple House members, those states should have their votes broken up. Like one vote per, like each state should be 1 vote per district, 2 votes per state, like it is in Maine, and I forget what other state it is, but yeah, that's how personally I think that all states should be doing that method. I don't know which party that would help. I haven't looked into it. I just think that would be better. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. The schools can't teach math and reading, forget civics. That depends, but yeah, we are struggling with that. The 2 politicians I ever would have voted for were Ron Paul and Bernie Sanders. That's fair. I'm not old enough to have been Ron Paul. I was campaigning for Rand Paul in 2016. Like, not much, but like I was all for, like I was, ready to caucus for Rand Paul when he was running in 2016, but he dropped out before he got to my state. Also, I happened to be out of state during the primary, so I wouldn't have been able to vote in the primary anyways, because you could only vote in primaries in person back then. You couldn't primary vote. Like primaries, how they were just different 10 years ago. They completely changed the process in the last 10 years. But and Rand Paul is Ron's son. I've got my issues with Rand though. I'm not sure I trust Elon after what he's doing. I'm with you. After what he's doing regarding Doge, yeah, he screwed that up. Great idea. We do need to do like Doge. Great in theory, terrible in execution. He just went in with a sledgehammer and tried to basically Doge was trying to do a salvage operation with a freaking crane, like bro, with a freaking excavator. It's like, bro, no, you don't use those giant thing crane what do they call the big construction excavator crane things? Like, that's not the right tool for a salvage operation after like when the buildings collapsed. You're gonna, there's survivors, and like there's also valuable property. There's things of value that are like hidden amongst the rubble that, like the excavator is not the right tool for the job. And that's basically what he did with Doge. and his connections to deep state dependence on defense contracts, etc. Gotcha. Plus one regarding your views on the electoral college as well. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not a vote. I don't think we should get rid of it. I like the. I think that there is an argument that the smaller states do kind of get overrun by the bigger states, and it kind of makes their voices get washed out. And having them get a little bit of a boost, with the representation from electoral college makes some sense. But at the same time, like, get rid of what first past the post. Like, that just pushes things too hard. Like, split it up, man. Like, California should be voting mostly Dems. Let the Dems have most of the California votes, but give some to the Republicans, and give a lot of Texans votes to the Dems. Maybe most can say Republican, but give a lot to the Dems. Like, it should be split up. Yeah. Doge did ferret out some astonishing corruption. Like the NGOs who take in billions to end homelessness, only for homelessness to increase. I haven't looked into that super hard, but I suspect it's not as simple as what you're making it out. Not that it was a bad concept to root out waste. It 100% is, and corruption, but the way they did it was not very responsible. I agree 100%. We need to get rid of waste and corruption, and there's a ton of it. You want to know where the two biggest sources of waste and corruption are? The biggest source of waste and corruption, at least especially with corruption, and a huge source of waste, is in Medicare and Medicaid. And not that we shouldn't be giving people their benefits. We 100% should. It's not guys like me who are on Medicaid because, like, I have disabilities and I struggle to freaking work. And I'm not making anywhere near enough off of YouTube to survive. But it's the fact that, like, drugs are so freaking expensive. And it's because Medicare and Medicaid are not allowed to negotiate prices. They just have to pay whatever the companies charge. And that is bull crap. They should be able to negotiate, and that would absolutely plummet the cost of health insurance costs. And we need to cut down on that. There's so much waste and corruption in the pharmaceutical industry, and we need to crack down on that. That would save so much in Medicare and Medicaid costs, and it would lower health insurance costs for just average Americans who aren't even on Medicare and Medicaid. It would save so much money. The U.S. is absolutely subsidizing research and development for medicine for the rest of the world, and it is bull crap. That's just facts. And we really need to do something about that. And we need to stop doing half-a measures like Trump signing that executive order, getting rid of that was dead on arrival, and there was no way it was ever passing. We need to get, like, actual real legislation passed through that's going to be able to hold weight, that it will hold water. That needs done. The other one, the military. It's massively overblown and crazy. Not saying we don't need a big military and that it doesn't serve a purpose. We do. But here's my proposition for how we should do military spending. What we should do is we should say, hey, generals, how much money do you need? Okay, that's how much you get, not a penny more. And then the next year we ask them the same amount. It's not use it or lose it. They get what they ask for, not a penny more. They say they don't need 5 million tanks. Okay, well, you don't want 5 million tanks. You're not going to get 5 million tanks. You get how many tanks you want. That's what we should do. The generals know what they want. They know what they need. Give them that. Don't give them any of that extra fluff. Cut out all the crap. Cut out all those, like, special deals and stuff where, like, people are greasing their pockets off of the American military complex. Get rid of all the waste and corruption in there. There's so much in there. We could absolutely slash our military budget without losing our capabilities. If we just went in and, cleaned house. The military does have a lot of waste and corruption. Not the kind of corruption Russia does, where it's, like, actively hurting their freaking military readiness. but there is a ton of waste and corruption in the American military. It's just, not being, it's not done in a way that hurts our preparedness. We need to go in there, get rid of the waste that is hurt, in a way that won't hurt our preparedness. It can absolutely be done. We need to go in and do it. Yeah. Not that it was a bad concept. Agreed on them using the wrecking ball when it should have been done in a scout. Exactly, 100%. Do you think the two parties are conspiring to prevent a third party? To some extent, yeah. I don't think it's 100% that. I think it's more just the system. The way it works is you need to get you just need to have the most votes. So if you all pile into one big party, then you're going to win. So you make two big parties and then one will win and that's it. And then people just go with whichever of those two parties fits better with what they believe. That's how to win in a two-party system. It's not that the parties are conspiring so much. There's probably some of it, but it's more the system is set up in a way where you can only win by doing a two-party system, with two parties. If you're not if you don't have half the country behind you, you're going to lose. So you gather with other people to get half the people behind you. And that's why we have two parties. That's why we've had two parties for forever. And until we get rid of first past the post, we always will have two parties. We're not going to ever have multiple viable parties until we get rid of first past the post and replace it with something better. Are other systems perfect? No, 100% they're not perfect. Ranked choice voting has all sorts of issues, and there's various different ways to do it, each with all sorts of issues. But if you look at the numbers, the absolute worst way to do it is first past the post, which is what we have. So literally anything would be better than what we have currently. So yeah, all the other systems have issues, but they're all better than what we have. And we need to switch to something. Anything is better than what we got. And yeah, that I think is the most important thing. Also, money in politics is huge. We really need to start getting rid of super PACs, limiting how much individuals can contribute. There needs to be hard limits on how much any one person can give to political campaigns. That just needs to be done. It wasn't that long ago when the numbers were much smaller. Money in politics has ballooned in the last 30 years. It's insane. Let's see, agreed that we waste a lot of money on unnecessary military. 100% we waste so much on it. We spend stupid. It's oh yeah, this barber chair. Well, that's $50 million. It's huh? You know what I mean? They'll spend stupid amounts on some crazy thing, and the reason why they do it is because by buying it at that price, then they get a deal on this other thing, and I don't know, it's just stupid. There's just so much unnecessary wasteful spending, and you could accomplish the same amount for a lot less if there was just more strict spending in the military, and most of it is just to line politicians' pockets, and to line maybe not necessarily the politicians themselves, but a lot of it is pork. So politicians push through things that make more waste spending in the military. They do it in ways that they put the waste in the military because it's harder to object to that. But the reason why they're actually doing it is, it's creating jobs in their community, but they're not really productive jobs. They're just, a way to let these people get kind of free government handouts for, yeah. The uniparty is real. 80% want secure elections. We just can't get it. The elections are pretty secure. I know Trump's been pushing that they're not, but they are. Voter fraud is extraordinarily low. We're talking maybe a few dozen people at most in a in the entire country during a massive presidential during a presidential year, numbers that aren't going to sway anything, and that's a few dozen across the entire country. It ain't swaying crap, because we're talking like a couple of votes here and there. It's such a nothing burger. There's just been a lot of people on the right who have pushed it just because mail-in voting tends to be more Democrat. It tends to be more Democrats that vote that way, and that causes the counting, which is faster, to be heavily Republican, whereas the counting that's slower to be more Democrat. So you tend to see an early right-wing shift. Like things look more Republican early on, and then they shift blue. I'm aware of that. Trust me. I sat through it in 2020 like everyone else. Or late 2019. It's like 2020. I sat through it, and I remember going to bed that night thinking Trump won and finding out he didn't the next morning and being like, that's crazy. But no, the elections are secure. It's just, it's optics, and the Republicans are really pushing that, especially Trump. Let's see, where was a lot of these expensive gizmos save the lives of soldiers. Is it really too expensive? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how in the military they will often spend like how much they'll spend on like a bag of bolts is like a stupid amount. It's like you could literally go to Home Depot, buy the same freaking bag of bolts for 1% the cost, but they can't. The military can't, because they're locked into a contract where they have to buy it from a particular manufacturer, which overcharges the crap out of them. There's so much of stuff like that. I'm not talking about things that protect soldiers. Soldiers should be protected 100%. We need to keep that. What I'm saying is stop overpaying for crap. Like there's so many military contracts that these juicy military contracts that where they're overpaying like crazy. And the reason why these contracts get signed is because they help some congressman's jurisdiction. Like somebody knows somebody, and it's pork, or the company's owned by the cousin of some congressman or some crap. Like there's so much of that, and that's what we need to get rid of. It's not things that are like protecting soldiers' lives. No, that's great. Keep it. I'm saying get rid of the spend less on the same stuff we have, and don't buy a bajillion tanks. Tanks are obsolete. Keep a few, sure, and the high end stuff, but we don't need a million tanks. Tanks are it's 2026. Tanks are an obsolete form of warfare. What we need are missiles and drones and planes and what are they? In the Navy, we need carriers. We need carriers. Those are like the big things that are super, super important for warfare, more so than anything else. And yeah, soldier training is also super important. We need to have highly trained soldiers. Great. But we're generally not putting boots on the ground, but it's good to have soldiers that are trained. And also, train officers to be smart and have highly skilled officers that are extremely competent, and also keep our American spirit of entrepreneurship alive, which is something that really is why America did so well in World War II. A big part of why we did so good was because a bunch of farm boys from the Hicks, they showed up on bloody battlefields. They went, this reminds me of that time out in the field when I had a problem with a crow. I wonder if I can use something with that to help win this situation. And it worked. That literally, that kind of stuff, where the generals actually listened to were actually let the random farmhands who knew what they were talking about, they gave them a chance to demonstrate stuff. That literally saved thousands of lives and was a huge reason why America is so powerful in World War II. And we need to keep that up 100%. keep the chain of command, but like at the same time, keep the soldiers free to engage as they see fit should the chain of command break down, which is something Americans can do way more so than other nation soldiers. The American soldier is far better at operating without instruction than other soldiers. That's just facts. Let's see, maybe if we spent less on bases all over the world and on foreign intervention, it's mixed on that one. We would have more for actual technology to keep us safe from potential attacks. Having the bases all over the world does kind of help, but there's reasons why we have those bases. They're all in critical choke points that really do help us keep keep all our adversaries in check. So there's reasons for that. I'm not sure I fully agree with you on that one. I get what you're saying about overpaying on bases and ridiculous contracts and the corruption. Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm not saying like we shouldn't have a million bases. Most of them are there for very strategic reasons. Like Trump wanting Greenland, there's a lot of like him saying that that's needed for military strategic. There's some logic to that, although there's a lot of flaws in that because like we literally have the right to just set up bases in Greenland if we want. Like there's already like we don't need to own Greenland. We can literally like if we want to just build a base, if we literally just want to plot the coast of Greenland with military bases, we can. Like there's nothing stopping America from building bases in Greenland. We have like treaties in place already that allow us to just build bases there whenever we want. So, and to have our ships patrol their shores as much as we want. Like, we don't need to take them over. Like, I get, like, it is a security reason, but, like, we can put bases there. We don't need to own the country. After 9/11, I learned a lot about blowback and how our bases everywhere actually cause friction. That is true. And more enemies that want to fight us. That is true. It is a bit of a double-edged sword. And part of it is we don't often do a good job of rebuilding the nation after we've taken it over. One nation where we did take it over and had hostile situations like we've seen in the Middle East, but we did do a good job rebuilding. And as we rebuilt them, we used the education system as a way to kind of like, as propaganda so that the newer generations would be more pro-American because we did a lot of good rebuilding, is the Philippines. They used to be super, super anti-American back in like the 50s. But, after a few decades, all those old people who were diehard, I hate America, they all kind of died of old age. And their kids grew up being like, you know what, America's pretty nice. And now like America's like the Philippines are pretty pro-America. That's been changing a bit recently, but that is an example of that. Let's see, military. I'm going to be ending this soon, but I do want to get through chat at least. Military strategy is one thing, but geopolitical and socioeconomic strategy also is 100%. We need to focus on both. If we're pissing off the world by pushing our might on them and forcing them to comply, it makes us hate it. Yes, that is true. We need to. You got to look at things from all angles. Speak softly but carry a big stick. We haven't been doing the best at that. The speak softly hasn't been going as well lately. I think the idea of nation building and indoctrinating others to like us is unethical. Is an unethical means of controlling us. Yeah, you're kind of right on that. We did do it with the Philippines, so we really did. It might work, but that doesn't make it right. I kind of agree with you. It does work. We did it with the Philippines, but I agree it is kind of unethical. It's not the worst thing in the world, like, indoctrinating people by like just being nice to them and like nation building and like killing them with kindness isn't the worst thing, but it's problematic. It's not it's one of the least problematic ways. I'd say it's the least problematic way to manipulate somebody. I'll put it that way. Not good, but it's the least problematic way to manipulate someone. But hey, I like your takes for the most part, and I enjoy the content. Yeah, appreciate that. Like, I try and have a moderate opinion. Like, I'm not like I don't go crazy on either side for the most part. Like, pretty nuanced on things like geopolitics, um, national politics, AI. I'm very nuanced on AI. I think it's a huge fucking bubble that's going to burst, and when it does, it's going to cause the economy to collapse to some degree. But at the same time, I don't think it's fake. It's the next internet. Like, it's the next big thing after the internet. But guess what? There was a .com bubble in the late 90s, and it burst. And we have an AI bubble, and it's going to burst. But the AI, it's here to stay, just like the internet. And it is going to be a big thing. It's just overhyped and overblown. And the amount of money in it is way more than what it should be. And it's going to be a problem. But someone's going to come out on top, and AI is the future. It is. Agreed on the AI bubble. It seems we are in a forced race against China for AI. There is some truth to that, although that might be overhyped as well. But yeah, anyways, I think I've rambled enough on all that. I'm already a little bit past where I was planning on streaming anyways, about 10 minutes. Not the end of the world. I was having a good chat. Wasn't planning on getting into all this like geopolitics and stuff. I wasn't planning on doing the Asmongold thing and like, going from like nerd stuff to being a political commentator, which that like I bring up Asmongold because he literally, that is what he did. He went from being a big WoW streamer and like he was just a nerdy dude playing WoW at his computer all day, like just a gross nerdy guy just at his computer streaming like. And like, let's be real, Asmongold was a freaking slob and probably still is to some extent. He's admitted it, like, but then he's became political streamer. I'm not like, that's not really my intention to go that route. I do have strong political opinions, as you can probably tell, but I don't know, not my route. I'm also much more moderate than Asmund. Yeah, cool, dude. Thanks for the talk. You're now officially a political commentator. Congrats. Hopefully I don't go too much that route. That's not my intention, but I mean, I'm not 100% against it, but I'd probably start a new channel if I was going to really go down that route. Anyways, I think that's it for today. Be back again Friday with another live stream. Same time, same place, same YouTube channel, and also same physical place most likely. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be streaming from my apartment on Friday. Be really surprised if I did. But anyways, yeah, I'll see you guys then. But as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you.